Thanks everybody for joining us here this morning. Happy to be in Springfield for the big news. My name is Thiede and I'm the Regional Administrator for EPA Region 5 out of Chicago. In that capacity, we have responsible for environmental oversight in the states of Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, as well as Ohio, Indiana, and of course Illinois. I'm so happy to be here with you all to share the exciting news. Over the past 4 years, protecting America's water resources has been a major priority for myself and for this administration. Ensuring access to safe and clean drinking water has been an emphasis for President Trump and the EPA Administrator Andrew Wheeler. Regardless of zip code, every man, woman, and child deserves to trust that the water coming from their tap is safe to drink. Speaking of children, this is Children's Health Month this month, and as part of this campaign, we're focusing this week specifically on lead poisoning prevention. It is an unfortunate reality that despite some of our best efforts, that drinking water can be and is sometimes the cause of lead poisoning in our children. And that's why we've been taking a multifaceted, holistic approach to address this issue, because nothing is more important than being able to trust that when you turn on the tap, the drinking water that's flowing is going to be clean. Now, this is especially important for the health and well-being of our youngest and most vulnerable residents, our children. So today, in order to advance this basic right, we are announcing over $113 million to the state of Illinois through our Clean Water and Drinking Water State Revolving Loan Funds. With these funds, Illinois will provide low-interest financing to communities across the state for costs associated with planning, design, and construction of eligible wastewater and drinking water infrastructure projects and activities to protect human health. Right now, just steps away, we are all gathered here today. Prior year EPA revolving loan funds are being utilized, that were provided to Illinois, are being utilized to replace lead service lines here in Springfield. And with this new round of funding that I just announced, even more communities will benefit from projects such as this, just like Springfield. The state revolving loan funds are just one of the many tools that EPA can offer our state partners so that they can upgrade their water infrastructure and reduce lead exposure. The Water Infrastructure Improvement for the Nation Act, often referred to as WIN, is another source of funding that allows us to improve water infrastructure, and I'm pleased to be able to announce over $1 million in funding through this program to the Illinois Department of Health. What's unique about this funding is that it will be used specifically to sample for lead in drinking waters in schools and daycares. And finally today, I'm also announcing a $2 million water infrastructure grant to Elevate Energy based in Chicago, Illinois. Elevate Energy will use this funding to help 200 to 250 child care facilities train and educate staff and the families they serve on the impacts of lead exposure, how to conduct lead testing in water, mitigation actions, and the importance of validation testing. Now, in addition to announcing these SRF and WIN grants, EPA is helping finance additional projects that remove sources of lead in drinking water through the new and innovative Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act, often known as WIFIA, loan program, and the Water Infrastructure Fund Transfer Act, or WIFTA. You know, government loves our acronyms. So WIFTA allowed Illinois to make a one-time transfer of $108 million from the state's Clean Water State Revolving Fund to its Drinking Water State Revolving Fund for lead-related drinking water self-eligible projects. Now, through the combination of all of these funds that I've mentioned, we are helping to ensure that the water that comes out of the tap is clean and safe by replacing and updating water infrastructure here in Springfield, the state of Illinois, and across the country. And as I mentioned earlier, given that this month is Children's Health Month, this announcement could not be more timely. Now, I'm joined today by a number of distinguished guests, and the first is Congressman Rodney Davis. U.S. Representative Davis proudly represents Illinois' 13th district. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Davis to say a few words on how these funds will mean to his district. Congressman.
Thank you, Administrator. Hey, thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for the standing ovation. Appreciate that. Hey, this is a great day. I mean, what the Administrator just announced is something that communities like Springfield and all throughout Illinois need. You know, when I had COVID back in August, I was given advice to drink a lot of water and take zinc. And I took that advice to heart, drinking a lot of water each day. And we take for granted when we turn on our sinks and we fill up a cup that that water is going to be safe for us and provide a health benefit even during fighting a disease like COVID. And I offer this same advice. I just offered it to my good friend, Representative Tim Butler, who's in quarantine right now. But there are a lot of people in our communities that if we offered that same advice, they might have to think twice about drinking extra water because it might not be safe. It might be contaminated with lead from products that were installed years and years and decades ago. But it takes government at the federal level, working with the folks at the state level, and on to finally the local level to get things changed. That's what these funds are going to do. It's going to help Illinois continue to upgrade our water infrastructure throughout this state, just like Mayor Langfelder is doing with his team right behind us. And it's going to help even more communities as we move into the future. I want to thank President Trump. I want to thank Administrator Wheeler and Administrator Thiede for your hard work in recognizing the need here in Illinois for these funds. I also want to thank Governor Pritzker and his team at the state who's in charge of actually putting these funds into our local communities. And Mayor Langfelder and mayors like Mayor Langfelder all throughout this state that are willing to apply for these funds and invest their funds too locally into projects like this so that we don't have to worry when offering advice to anyone in the state of Illinois or frankly the United States of America whether or not they should drink too much of their own water if they know it's not safe. So thank you again for the announcements. It's great to be up here as a partner with the federal and the local government. And I just want to applaud everybody for the hard work they've already put in to upgrade infrastructure in communities like Springfield. But there's a lot more to do. And these funds, Mr. Administrator, are going to help greatly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Am I introducing the mayor or you?
I can go ahead and
All
do
right,
it.
perfect.
Thanks. Thank you, Congressman. And, I think what you said is incredibly important. It's that layered partnership at all levels, working together, pulling in the same direction that can really make a difference. So next I have the honor to introduce the mayor of Springfield, James Langfelder. Mayor Langfelder is serving his second term as mayor of Springfield. Mayor, I'd like to ask you to come forward and say a few words.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Administrator Thiede. We really appreciate the great work that you're doing, and most importantly, your visit to Springfield. That's very important that our representatives in Washington do come and see where the tax dollars that they're in charge of actually come through on fruition. And you could not get a better project than a water project. Water is the resource of the future. So the communities that grow and thrive in the future have to have a quality, quantifiable source of water, and this project lends it to itself. And thank you, Congressman Davis. We really appreciate all you've done for Springfield and continue to do. It's important that you've never lost sight of where you came from. That's always important. It's the roots, and it really makes us stronger and working together through the state and through the federal government. And actually, I can't take the credit. City Water, Light and Power, we're very blessed to have our own utility, and that's a municipally owned utility. I think we're probably the only one in Illinois that serves the water and electricity. And Todd LaFountain and Doug Brown have done a great job overseeing it with regards to, I should throw in Scott Rogers too on the electric and water side. But this project is very important for our inner city. So it's just not right here, but we intend to expand. And this is a decades-old problem. With lead lines, they are in our older neighborhoods, just not in Springfield, but all the communities throughout the country. And it's important that we have this partnership to replace them. With this particular location from Cook to South Grand, it's in an opportunity zone, it's a low-income area. And what's important, especially the timing during a pandemic, is to show activity. Show the individuals in these neighborhoods they are not forgotten. We're here to help them to move to the next level. And I think that's one of the reasons Springfield's been selected, or from the Business Insider, I'll give that selfless plug of being the #1 post-pandemic community, is because of the resources that the federal government understands that we need, the state government as well, and locally the importance of building up our community. But we have great health care, we have great individuals, we're an affordable place to live, we're moving in the right direction, but most importantly, you have to have that resource of water that everybody needs each and every day to live and thrive on. And we're very blessed to have that resource, and we thank again Administrator Thiede, Congressman Davis, for giving this opportunity to replace some of the lead lines that will improve people's lives and also improve development within the areas that need it most in Springfield. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. And talking to the mayor ahead of time, you know, sometimes it's one of the most important things is when we're doing projects like this on how we can layer the various projects together, whether it's a brownfield program, opportunity zones, water infrastructure programs, to let the community know that progress is being made for them, and it can really become anchors within cities like Springfield. And now I'd like to invite Mr. LaFountain forward to share a few words about what specifically a little bit more details on the project itself.
Well, thank you and good morning. As the mayor alluded to, City Water, Light and Power's Water Division is very excited to be a participant in the State Revolving Loan Fund lead replacement service line replacement project. We are currently underway here on 15th Street. We're working from Cook Street down to the south to South Grand Avenue. We're replacing all the lead service lines on this street. It is one piece of our overall Phase 1 lead replacement program. We were fortunate enough to get an $888,000 grant under Phase 1 of our program. So that grant, along with our own resources at CWLP, will allow us to replace approximately 150 service lines between now and the summer of 2021. So we're also excited to look to the future. We're currently planning our Phase 2 of our lead replacement program. We have an application in to the State Revolving Loan Fund for $4 million. Upon receipt of that, or hopeful receipt of that, teamed with our own CWLP resources, we would be able to replace 600 lead service lines over the course of about a 24-month period. So finally, I'd like to thank our legislators, mayor, and all our federal and state legislator and regulatory agencies for the opportunity to undertake these important projects and to find funding mechanisms for CWLP and water utilities throughout the state. Thank you very much.
Well, Congressman, thank you for your leadership in Washington and locally here, Mayor, for your work here in the city. As the federal government at EPA, we're happy to be a partner in everything that you heard about today. You know, we have a saying in EPA Region 5 that we're better together, and I can't think of a better example of that than working closely with at the state and federal and local level to provide a clean source of drinking water for children and for communities across the country, regardless of zip code. What you have in a lot of cities is it's an area that cuts through a lot of sectors, a lot of cities. It doesn't really focus in on a specific zip code or a specific type of neighborhood. What you have with a lot of this aging infrastructure, it's in the ground, it needs to come out, and it's really not, it wasn't laid down based on any zip code or economic foundation. It's a problem that exists in all cities, but what we have seen is that, especially like in these areas like opportunity zones, which is an area that are getting specific focus under this administration. It is an area that there are a lot of lead issues and where we really do need to focus our efforts. but what oftentimes happens is when you're not able to get the lead service lines out, there are methods to deal with it. Typically it's corrosion control, and what you're trying to do is coat the pipe so you're not getting leaching in. That was the issue in Flint. They changed their water source. The corrosion control that they had in place was effective under the previous water source, but when they switched, it was less effective due to the water chemistry, and that's when you get some of the leaching and some of the breaking off of that protector, the protective layer. Anything additional?
Yeah, it's hard to do better than that answer, but here each community is different. It depends on the chemistry and the makeup of the water quality. Here in Springfield, we do a lime softening process that produces a scale forming product. So that scale on the inside of these pipelines helps protect them from corroding. Different communities are different. Some communities have bigger issues if their water's more aggressive, but that's how we approach optimum corrosion control technology in Springfield.
Mr. Mayor, people might watch this story on the news tonight and wonder, is the water in my faucet safe tonight? How do you evaluate that, and what do you tell them about whether or not their water is safe?
Well, how I evaluate it is drinking it each and every day. I think we have the best tasting water there is, but Todd could speak to that. But real quick on the lead, he can also speak to that. In Springfield, it's mainly the inner city. You know, the older parts of Springfield is where the lead pipes, because I'm not sure when it came into existence, you no longer use lead pipes. So, as we do testing on a daily basis to assure that we do have a quality water source for everybody.
I guess I wasn't so much asking about the taste, but the testing or the
Right.
quantity. Can you elaborate on how
Yeah, he
safe
can go
or
into
how much of a
tasting
risk there
or
is
the
today?
testing.
Yeah, so the water is absolutely safe to drink here in Springfield. We do testing, state mandated testing for lead and copper, and we've never exceeded any federal action levels in those regards. Again, it goes back to there are some lead services in the city. Most of those were installed pre-1930. 1930 is kind of the demarcation line when we switched from lead service lines to copper lines. Our optimum corrosion control technology has kept that in check so that lead doesn't leach out into the city of Springfield's lead service line type installations. So we did get the $888,000 loan with 100% principal forgiveness. So you might hear me use the term grant interchangeably with that, but we've also applied for a $4 million loan through the state's revolving loan fund. That loan is still pending, but we're hopeful that that will be awarded here within the next 6 months or so. We anticipate replacing 150 service lines under the current program. We've started 35 to 40 of those services replacements, and we hope to wrap that up by, I think it's July 30th of 2021. So yeah, we've got targeted areas. This is one of the targeted areas. So this is 15th Street from Cook to South Grand. We also have some areas on Cook Street, Kansas, Lawrence, 4th and 9th Street. And we've also got 10 registered home daycare facilities that we're going to target for replacement. This is a shared exercise here. So our own CWLP crews are making the taps on the main, running the copper service up to a meter pit like the one you see behind you. And then these funds are being utilized to replace the customer's portion of the line, as well as doing some street repair and site repair. The water is completely safe to drink, and this optimum corrosion control technology ensures that the lead isn't leaching into the lines, but it is a proactive measure to ultimately our goal is to have no lead service lines within our distribution system. Yes, so while we're hooking up the service lines, there is a short outage, but it's on the matter of hours. There's a total of 10,800 lead service lines in the city of Springfield. That's in the best of our records. That's what we show. We're able to proceed as long as it's not raining, snowing, things of that nature. There is a limit to, the cold weather at the lower limit at which the crews will actually go out and do the work. But 90% of the days we're able to keep proceeding, making progress on the project.
Mr. Thiede, if I might, we we happen to be 1 week before an election, and this happens to be a district that is watched nationwide. Does the announcement today have anything at all to do with that?
No, and I think I've heard the these are loans and grants that are given out annually, and I think I hear the term swing states. I don't believe Illinois is a swing state, so a swing district. So no, what today is about is making an important water announcement. We were in rural Illinois today talking about working with farming community on another end of the water process. We've got stops in Indiana tomorrow to make some other water announcements. So this is just doing business at a time of year where there's other things going on, I guess is the way I would put it.
Will you be making any other stops with any other congresspeople today in Illinois? I noticed there's a lot of other projects in a lot of other districts across the state.
Yeah, actually, not today. We're going to be heading to Indiana tomorrow. We have another grant announcement up in Indianapolis tomorrow, and as well as a big air announcement. So next stop is across the border. So with that, that concludes our announcements for today. And again, I'd just like to thank our distinguished speakers. Thank you all for coming, and we'll let you all go warm up and hopefully get a warm beverage. Thank you all for coming today.